Expectation, neither are you in to live up to mine. I don't owe no one, no obligation. No one owes me none, so everything is fine, fine. I say I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. Serious business. There is a time for everything, and for everything there is a season. So man and man must reason. So I think it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get too confused. So relax your mind, make sure everything is fine while I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain.
Let me make sure. Yeah, it's now 6 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock on the Spice Isle of Grenada. Yeah. Saying a special good night to my Carriacou and Petit Martinique family. I know it's been a solemn day for many of you. Yeah, today we had the funeral of our dearly departed Vinny. And again, to her friends and family, we offer our condolences. Yeah, no sticking tonight, you know. Yeah, no sticking tonight. Anybody that stick tonight, they're going to miss out, you know. Yeah, because we ain't sticking tonight at the half-hour mark. We're going to be bringing in the Honorable Emlyn Pear. She'll be in with us at the half-hour mark. All right? Nice. So, as we said, no sticking. Let me see who are saying good night to on the YouTube. Caitlin, Matthew, Clive, Beavis, Errol, Christine, Godfrey, Jakeem, Cynthia, Faithlyn, Denise, Carol, Jillian, and Deborah. So good night to all of you out there on the YouTube. Nice, beautiful. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. They began with the blame game, giving NNP more fame. Past administration, the cause of frustration. Past administration, chief of corruption. Then to economic recession, we can't give you attention. Economic recession. Yeah, and to those of you out there on Facebook, let me see. I'm seeing Denise, I'm seeing Tati, I'm seeing Faye. Yeah, I'm seeing Shirley. Good night to all of you out there. Gillian, yeah. Gillian, sorry, I keep saying Gillian. Is Gillian or Gillian? I have to say it properly, you know. Yeah, good night to you. I'm seeing all of you over there on the Facebook Live. As I said, yeah, come in, man. What did I say? Come in. Yeah, I have something to play with you all. We have some stuff to talk about. And so, yeah, so come in, man. Come in. Never mind. Only projects in pipeline. No water to cool down the yellow temperature. Campaign promises. Oh, soon. Maybe by the next full moon. Folks, remember at 8:30 we'll be joined on air by the Honorable Emlyn Pear, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew South East. Dwight, I see you. Lynn, Rachel, good night to all of you. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. Augie, Everett, Gavin, Wendy, Henry, Wilma over there on the YouTube. Let me see who's there again. Yeah, I'm seeing Ann over there. Good night to all of you on the YouTube as well, eh? Strong. So why not send them a... Come on. We look to get the numbers up, man. Let's stick in tonight. Yeah. Come on. Let's stress on the economy. Call your neighbor. Come on. Yeah, pick up the phone. Call them. WhatsApp them. Share the live. And remember to like and subscribe so you'd get the notification each time Talking Points begins.
Hoping you list the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. So we've heard about your internal division, but some can't digest that one. Remember the man say he's an asset to the party? And will we vote you without him? You left him with Glenn alone. Maybe they cloned. And however, I foresee a pretensive unity that will mislead a lot just before the next ballot. But you guys will have to come real good.
Yeah, Rhonda and Hicda. Is it Hicda, yeah? And Rodney. Good night to all of you.
We won't stay at ease. That's
Come on, folks. Like and share, like and share. Yeah, gonna start to play clips as soon as I see a certain number of you on.
now refrain. You
No, can't take calls right now. All you hold on.
God had a plan for Jonah to restore.
Hold on.
Will restore Grenada? Is it the same Jonah? Lots of doubt, so I'm running up my mouth.
Like and share. Yeah, Lorna, I see you in.
Politicians sometimes form a crooked badge. After they get the vote, they
Come on, you're getting close to the number there. We're starting to play clips in a little while, man.
dance a pain. With $1 million house and brand new car on the scene, while our hungry belly still grumbling.
Come on, you're getting close to the number.
Promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited.
I see someone saying they didn't get a notification from Facebook. I don't know why.
People say
Have you subscribed to the page? Did you like and subscribe to the page?
from Jonah, here comes still with more pressure and hunger. And from the
You can't get on. There's no live showing on Facebook. Refresh your page, my dear.
Congress failed.
Yeah, just refresh the page.
Never understand the distribution of the wealth. So drink your bush home if you want good health. And for real, we appreciate the free barrel. But then they come in December. So what we do from January to November? Suck salt and drink no water. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you list the strain. But you now refrain. By the way, what will be a theme for the next campaign? It can never be about change again. And in what language?
Let me see. I'm just looking for one more on that live. Ooh, just one more looking for on that live there.
$1,000 in your jerseys for we, or give us everything free as in the days.
So here's what we're gonna begin. Yeah, folks. Because as I said, we have a limited amount of time before the Honorable Emlyn Pear comes on. Now, as we said, because we knew the present administration has a lot of public workers go in and use out all the paper in all them ATM available in any corner of Grenada they could reach, because they go in and see if their money reaching yet. Some have been paid, many have not. I got reports from police officers that they have not been paid, traffic wardens, and various other categories of workers who have not yet been paid. Now, their argument, because, after we did our program on Thursday night, the government had to respond. So, on Friday, they sent out a notice saying that, they had to pay 1 day before the end of the month, which is today. So we expected to at least people get their salary today and so on, but we're still getting a lot of reports. Many people are still calling in and saying to me, Sheldon, we can't see we salary yet. They're wondering what's going on. They say, well, listen, all you leave a pregnant treasury. They said the treasury was ready to deliver. When they reached there, they said they never see money so in their life. They say NNP wicked. NNP could have spent the money, they leave all the money there. But all of a sudden now, they're having problems to pay salaries. And remember, these are the same people who tell you this. Let me play something there for you, man. Yeah, let me pull that so, and let me play a little something for you. As I say, we're starting from now. So let me play a little something for you all day, because I want you all to remember. Remember this.
So don't worry your head too much about empty treasury. We in the NDC, we have the exposure. We have had the exposure. Good? And we know what to do to find money, to look after the needs of our people. And as I have the mic, let me say, as we go around the country and we speak to our people, that's a topic that they always say to us, we go pay salary late and we don't know how to run a country. Tell them that we say we know how to run a country, and tell them that we wouldn't pay salary late. All right? Tell them that affirmatively. We're not going to pay salary rate and we know how to run a country.
Here, that was Mr. Lennox Andrews, and he was speaking there at a town hall meeting of the National Democratic Congress. Yeah, those are you in Grenville. All the public workers who are up there in Grenville who were not paid. Yeah, all of you public workers up in Grenville who have not yet been paid. Yeah, all of you who are custom under the new National Party. When the new National Party was in government, number one, getting your salary, and number two, getting your salary on time, by the 27th of the month, NNP pay already. And in January, when they know that the last salary you get was the 15th of December, by last week, Wednesday, you would have been paid already. But instead of that, they are saying that, they don't have to pay until the 30th of the month. Yeah, and they send out big lists about when they're supposed to pay pension, and when they're supposed to pay salaries, and when they're paying seed, and all kind of thing. In other words, the NDC administration telling all you, hush all your mouth. All you ain't have no right to talk about salaries late. Because they're saying, as far as they're concerned, salaries ain't late. Because see, some of them don't know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. They are accustomed to having a lot of money. So they ain't accustomed to knowing what you're feeling when you struggling to make the end of January and them extending January on you. Yeah? So remember, it's Lennox Andrews that said, the man say, NDC know where to find money. They would not, let me play it for you, man. I don't have to say it, I will play it. No, let me get it here,
Worry your head too much about empty treasury. We, in the NDC, we have the exposure. We have had the exposure. Good? And we know what to do to find money, to look after the needs of our people. And as I have the mic, let me say, as we go around the country and we speak to our people, that's a topic that they always say to us, we go pay salary late and we don't know how to run a country. Tell them that we say we know how to run a country, and tell them that we wouldn't pay salary late. All right? Tell them that affirmatively. We're not going to pay salary late, and we know how to run a country. That affirmatively. We're not going to pay salary late, and we know how to run a country. Affirmatively. We're not going to pay salary late, and we know how to run a country. Affirmatively. We're not going to pay salary rate, and we know how to run a country.
Not me say, them say. So they can't blame me, right? They can't blame me. That was the NDC town hall last year, right? He go and he give a long rundown. I don't want to play it tonight because it's about 8 minutes long, but I've got it. Yeah, where he explain why they wouldn't pay salary late because they know where to find money here, and they know where to find money there, and they know all the nooks and cranny, and they could get from this regional institution, or they could ask a friendly government, and so on. Instead of that, on Friday, these people had to basically hold them banks in the neck and tell them, hey, go ahead and start paying public workers. We is the government. We go pay all you when we get the money. That's the situation that they're reaching right now, asking for overdraft at the commercial banks and so to try and pay public workers. The same people who say we know how to run country and we wouldn't pay late. And before I go any further, because I said we're bringing on Honorable Emlyn Pierre at 8:30. But before I go any further, and don't worry, I see some of you all calling on the WhatsApp and think we will get a chance to talk and interact and think we will take all your calls in a timing. Right? Now, these are the same individuals who want to pay bi-weekly. So they can't even pay. They had since the 15th of December, since the middle of December, 6 weeks ago, and they can't pay now. But they're telling you they're going to pay bi-weekly. So every fortnight they're going to pay. These are the same people who 6 weeks now, at a point in time that you're supposed to have some of the most economic activity taking place in your country. Christmas time, remember, they are the ones say they pay how much millions in the pension, and the economy booming, the economy moving. How this one get work there and that. Remember the ad? Right? This one get work there and that one get work there. Then that money is supposed to circulate in the economy, and therefore government supposed to get its fair share. So it means that they lie. And that money was not circulating in the economy. In fact, we know that most of the business people will tell you this has been one of the hardest Christmases that they've ever been through. This Christmas has been one of the hardest Christmases that they have ever been through. Yeah? And it's showing because government hasn't made the money that they tell you they're going to make. The same people who saying that, Grenadians deserve a lot of money.
Here's the excuse that will be made. The excuse that will be made is, it's a lot of money. Well, Grenadians deserve a lot of money.
That's them. But even further than that, I was doing some research and I hear the Prime Minister. Then he was seeking to be Prime Minister. And all I want to hear what he had to say about the seed program. The same man that come and take the $150 away from these elderly people, from these disabled people and these little children. Hear what he had to say about the seed program when he was looking to get in office. Let me hear what he had to say.
So let me zero in. You have a seed program. The World Bank says, if you're making $650 or less, you're poor. Yet still, the seed program is only paying you $350 and $450. They are aware of the World Bank report. Why then raise the seed program to $650 or more? So if they were interested in truly alleviating poverty or truly helping you, they would raise the figure to $650 or more. So I'm saying to all of the persons who are genuinely on the seed program, particularly our older citizens, who would have worked to help build Grenada, the seed program should be for you, for people who are differently able, for elder citizens.
Not me say. It's Deacon that say people ain't getting enough. The same man that take $150 out of the money after his minister went in parliament and said they're leaving the $150. You are hearing him. And that was the meeting in Latant when he was opening the office, just in case you want to know exactly where. That he made the whole long diatribe in relation to the seed program and he said NNP wicked. That's why he, paraphrasing what he say here. Because they know people need more money and they ain't putting it on seed. At the point in time he talking about that, NNP had put the $150 on already. He came in and he take it out. Don't tell me nothing about no, it was for a year and so on. All of us have common sense. We know the budget is from January 1st to December 31st. At the point in time that his minister, Senator Gloria Thomas, came out and did her budget presentation, it means that the people in the Ministry of Finance had completed the budget for 2023. You can't come and read a budget and present a budget if you have not completed it. So they had completed the budget for 2023. She came in and she said the 150 will remain. What did people get the shock of their life with when they went to collect seed? The 150 was taken away. Yeah? But yet still, we hear there the political leader, the NDC, the present Prime Minister, when he was seeking to be Prime Minister, NNP should put more money on the seed. And then he come in. And the same poor people he talking about, the elderly and disabled, etc., he take money away from them. No, hear it again.
So let me zero in. You have a seed program. The World Bank says, if you're making $650 or less, you're poor. Yet still, the seed program is only paying you $350 and $450. They are aware of the World Bank report. Why then raise the seed program to $650 or more? So if they were interested in truly alleviating poverty or truly helping you, they would raise the figure to $650 or more. So I'm saying to all of the persons who are genuinely on the seed program, particularly our older citizens who would have worked to help build Grenada, the seed program should be for you, for people who are differently able, for elder citizens.
So you've heard the then leader of the NDC saying what ought to have been done. But he come in and the same disabled people, the same elderly people that he was talking about then that need more money, he take it from them. So as of today and tonight, they still can't buy their medication. They still can't buy food stuff to the level that they were able to do for 2022. It's the same individual that you're hearing there saying NNP should raise the money more, that take out $150. Says no you, nah? We had a video too, you know. Says no you. These are the people who are not running, you know, drop an eye inside that, ruining our country right now. They promised the nurses that they would add $500 onto their salary. Ladies and gentlemen, am I lying? Was that not a promise? Did we not hear that in the budget? Did we not hear that other places? That the nurses were given an honorarium of $500. No, those nurses that have been paid, not all get paid yet, those nurses that have been paid are reporting that the honorarium suddenly reached down to $410. They swap, they take $90 out of it. It's an honorarium, you're not supposed to touch it. But they have decided that they go in and take, I don't know if it's personal income tax, I don't know if it's whatever they take on it, but the honorarium, so those nurses now fully expecting they will get their look of $500. Go on in the bank and the credit union, only to find out that they get $410 and not the $500 promised. So when we say they trick them with campaign promises, you know exactly what we're saying. Ask a nurse, ask any of the nurses, and they will confirm for you if they're in shame. Because you realize now that supporters of that political party, or brothers and sisters, or family members, or friends, all of a sudden they get mutitis. Some of them can't talk right now. Some of them tongue-tie. So they can't say anything right now. You're not hearing them. But the nurses who were promised that, now remember, when the government ministers sat in cabinet, not a committee, not a recommendation, not a study, nothing. They just sit down in cabinet. Me working for that money, and NNP was working for the last 9 years. We want $2,000 extra. Put the $2,000 extra on their salary. And then talking about gas and all kind of thing. Nah, $2,000, no. Don't try that one with us. They put $2,000 onto their salary that they're not paying any tax on. So they're getting the $2,000 wrong. Meanwhile, the nurses who they give the $500, they're taxing it. So they're giving with one hand and they're pulling back with the next one. But remember, we did tell you all that when they added the pensioners that they paid in November, they had to add them onto payroll, the pension payroll. And that's another $500,000 they had to find. But you know where they find it? The $150 that they take from the people in the seed program, right? It's roughly 5,000 households. So there's about 750,000 somewhere there. That's what they did to try and find the money now to be able to pay the pensioners that they've added to the payroll on a monthly basis. And they're still falling short. So they can't pay public workers on time. On time by NNP standards is by the 27th of the month. Not the 29th, not the 30th, not the 31st or the following month. By the new National Party standards. And you know it because you were the recipients of it, is by the 27th of the month. That's how the new National Party usually pays. They're saying we don't have to pay by that time, so by the 30th of the month is when we have to pay. All right? The same set of people there? The same set of people. Remember, these are the people that told you. They told you When you went in the hall and you sit down and they clapping and them kind of thing.
Here's the excuse that will be made. The excuse that will be made is it's a lot of money. Well, Grenadians deserve a lot of money.
Yeah, remember, Grenadians deserve a lot of money. And remember what the present Prime Minister said about the seed program. The same Minister of Finance. So it's he take it because he's the Minister of Finance. He in charge of the money. He take the 150 from them poor people.
So let me zero in. You have a seed program. The World Bank says if you're making 650 or less, you're poor. Yet still, the seed program is only paying you 350 and 450. They are aware of the World Bank report. Why then raise the seed program to $650 or more? So if they're interested in truly alleviating poverty or truly helping you, they would raise the figure to $650 or more. Or truly helping you, they would raise the figure to $650 or more. More. So if they're interested in truly alleviating poverty or truly helping you, they would raise the figure to $650 or more. So I'm saying to all of the persons who are genuinely on the seed program, particularly our older citizens, who would have worked.
And folks, let's get one more here before we bring on the Honorable Emlyn Pear with us. I know she's on the line already. Let me just play one more for you because we want to hear what Toad say about them salaries, man. The NDC wouldn't pay late. That's what Toad say, you know. Let me hear what he say.
Don't worry your head too much about empty treasury. Empty treasury. We in the NDC, we have the exposure. We have had the exposure. Good? And we know what to do to find money, to look after the needs of our people. And as I have the mic, let me say, as we go around the country and we speak to our people, that's a topic that they always say to us, we go pay salary late and we don't know how to run a country. Tell them that we say we know how to run a country and tell them that we wouldn't pay salary late. All right? Tell them that affirmatively. We're not going to pay salary late and we know how to run a country.
Yes, indeed. They will not pay salary late and they know how to run a country. All right, folks. So let's just take a short break here as I bring in the Honorable Emlyn Pear.
Endorsing the Honorable Emlyn Pear for the Southeast Constituency. This lady, she's like a mother to we. Yes, this lady carries nothing but royalty. Yes, this lady, I am sure that she got her back. And if you don't believe me, then sit down and listen to few facts. Honorable Emlyn Pear, we know you have done your best. All when times get rough, with others putting you to the test. Sometimes you took it up on your own, trying to make everyone feel at home. Sending young girls back to school, education the master too. So in classes and other programs, prepare for the future which is to come. So once again with royalty, Honorable Emlyn, well done. Cause this lady, she's like a mother to we. Yes, this lady, she carries nothing but royalty. Yes, this lady, I am sure that she got her backs. And if you don't believe me, then sit down and listen to few facts. You can see her in the communities, mixing and having fun, playing with the children, skipping rope and bouncing ball, visiting children in the school, meeting farmers out at their farms, helping mothers with the seed program. Every child get the chance to learn. And if you have a little problem, I am sure this way you can.
Yes, indeed, folks. And we do have, let me make sure, Honorable Emlyn Pear, are you there? Let me just make sure. Honorable Emlyn Pear?
I am there and I hear you bust a big tune there, man.
Yes, and you're coming over nice and clear. And a special good night to you, as I mentioned, folks. And I don't think any of you do not know the lovely lady that we have on with us tonight. We have on the Honorable Emlyn Pierre. I go so far back that I nearly say Senator the Honorable Emlyn Pierre, and I go that far back. How are you doing? You see, I nearly say Senator. How are you doing, Honorable Emlyn Pierre?
I am doing good. I'm doing good by the grace of God. Just walked into the house, so all I had time to do was to put down the bag and to try to log on. So,
well, we know you're always busy. but how do you handle this? I know it's church. It's I mean, at a point in time, is government minister, the church, the family, the community. How do you handle all of that? How are you able to do all of these things in one day?
so far, the only explanation I've been able to come up with, the grace of God. How I do it, I can't explain. But, I thank God for strength. I thank God for good people around me. I thank God for encouragement. And I believe, this is how I do it. This is how I do it.
Yes, indeed. And we're going to start the ball rolling one time. I know over the weekend, we've been hearing some news coming out of the New National Party camp about I still call her the Honorable Kendra Mathurin Stewart, my kayak sister. And we were hearing some news about her. Would you want to share anything with us in relation to that situation?
Okay. So I don't know, I would call it a situation.
Well, some people trying to make it look as a situation.
That's what I'm going to say. I know some people have been trying to twist and, find all kind of ways to communicate this. But it was a very simple situation, if we want to call it that, where the Honorable Kendra Mathurin Stewart has submitted her resignation to the New National Party. And the party has accepted that resignation. The political leader has given his blessings to her as she leaves as an official member of the party. Now, I think what is critical to note is, one, that the resignation letter was received. The party is extremely thankful to former MP Kendra Mathurin Stewart for her service to the party. Not just her service to the party, but her service to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. And I believe that's one of the situations where it would be quite appropriate to say Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada. Well, because I know how passionate she has been about Carriacou and Petite Martinique. I really always express to Kendra how much I think she followed in the footsteps of Honorable Elvin Nimrod for his passion for Carriacou and Petite Martinique, leaving no stone unturned, wanting to get every possible benefit for them. So that's the first thing. So if we to compartmentalize this whole situation, as you call it, is one, we are extremely thankful and grateful. The sacrifices she has made. I remember when Kendra came into this, you would recall, very short notice, right? Very short notice when former MP Nimrod, Elvin Nimrod, indicated that he was not going to continue frontline politics. He was not going to run in the upcoming election. The party had to quickly find a candidate for the elections. And so Kendra came in with all the vibrancy and the excitement and wanting to serve her people. And I believe she did an excellent job at that. I honestly, truly believe she represented her people well. So we want to thank her for that. The second thing we want to note is why she has submitted her resignation, right? Kendra was a professional lawyer before she became a politician. She was first a lawyer. And of course, after the last election, some persons may not have been aware, but she had indicated that she was no longer interested in frontline politics. Right? She had indicated that as a matter of fact, she submitted a letter publicly or notice publicly to that effect that she wanted to concentrate on her legal profession and, of course, to deal with some pressing other matters. Again, the party proceeded, and as you know, the party would have named former minister or former member of the party, former minister Nolan Cox, as the caretaker in Carriacou and Petite Martinique, and that was sometime last year. Now, she has also indicated on this occasion that the reason she's going one step further to resign from the party is that certain activities that she intends to pursue, certain dreams that she intends to pursue, requires her to be not a member of a political organization. And I believe it is only fair and fitting that we support her in her endeavors by allowing her to gracefully leave the party at this time and to go with all of our love and support and to say we are so thankful for her service.
Yes, indeed, our loving sister. And I know even just last week, I saw a similar situation in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The new president was a former government minister within the PNM administration, Mrs. Christine Kangaloo. Well, she was a government minister, and then she had to resign from the party to take up certain portfolios, first as president of the Senate and now as president of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She had to resign from the party. It didn't mean that she had a problem with the party. It simply meant that when you're holding that position, that you had to separate yourself from political involvement. So what you're saying is that a similar situation is taking place here.
Quite similar. And we would be selfish, I believe, if we try to not offer support and encouragement to our sister in this regard as she pursues her dreams and her areas, of interest at this time.
It also points to the fact that the new National Party knows how to choose quality people. Because for her to transition now from being a government minister and I think attorney general and so on, and now being offered another position, people will hear what that position is when the time is right and the information is out there. It shows the quality of the individuals that the new National Party has been able to attract. You have her situation. You have former Senator Simon Steele, now with the United Nations in charge of climate change. So it says a lot about the quality of persons who the new National Party attracts.
And let us add another factor on the quality, the youthfulness of the people that we have been able to attract.
Yes, indeed. Well, Honorable Pear, I know that you have been listening. I'm sure that when you come in, you was listening to the beginning of Talking Points. And
I'll be honest, no, I wasn't. I'll be very honest. Because
we was
written and just logged in.
Well, we were playing a clip a while ago of a certain now government minister when he was not a government minister speaking about not paying late. I know under the new National Party, nobody 27th of the month, people could, you could book your thing, you could tell courts, hey, you're getting your money on the 28th because you know by the 27th, it's in your account. What have you been hearing from your community, from your constituency? What have you been hearing from the public workers in your constituency?
Well, towards the end of last week, and we normally describe January as the longest month in the year. And I think that is because you get paid the 15th of December, which is unusual. It's a special arrangement for the Christmas that is approaching, the Christmas celebrations. So you get paid the 15th of December, and then you have to wait till the end of January to get paid again. And it is the reason why people describe the month of January as the longest month. Now, under the previous administration, the NNP administration, we understood what that meant, right? We understood that many people made certain commitments to their salaries when they received it the middle of December. And that to go between the middle of December to the end of January, realistically speaking, would be a major challenge for many people, right? And hence the reason every possible effort was made over the years to pay as early as possible, right? Now, that is not just an issue of December payment and January payment. But you would have noticed that over the years, generally speaking, the NNP government would have made every effort to pay public officers on time and at the earliest convenient time. Meaning that generally speaking, people expect their pay by the last day of the month. But I'm sure if you look back at the last 5 years prior to June 2022, you would see from the record, and it would show that persons could have confidently depend on the government for payment at the end of the month. And I'm talking their end of the month, meaning from the 26th, the 27th, thereabout. So even when January come, they would be expecting it even a little earlier than that. And as a caring government, once you have it, you pay it. So it is not even just about when it is supposed to be paid, but if we have it and you need it, we provide it. But what I think was even more frightening for me is when I saw a press release from the government explaining why people were not paid. The tone of the press release, I probably would, if I was writing it, I would have written it in a different way, with a little more empathy, knowing that there are people who genuinely expected the payment on another day, prior to the day of the notice. The letter sounded like, why are you asking about salary and payment now when you know that your payment is due at the end of the month, on the last day of the month, whatever? I felt it could have been toned down a little bit with a little more empathy, right? But today, Monday, is the date by which they indicated that persons would have been paid. But even towards the end of today, the end of the working day today, there are some persons who did indicate that they did not receive anything. So my appeal is that whatever the problem is, that the government would speedily, hopefully tomorrow, make every attempt to resolve this matter, mindful that January, as it's normally described, is the longest month in the year.
And indeed, because it means government paid on the 15th, so 6 weeks after. This is really 6 weeks after. And it's the same government that says that they're going to pay fortnightly. Well, they say bi-weekly. I'll just say fortnightly. You had 6 weeks, you're struggling to pay salaries, and especially after you've been in government, you know that the December month is usually a bonanza month for the government and the treasury. People have their barrels and different things coming through the port. You have the different companies are bringing in containers of goods and all of that on the port authority. Then the VAT that has to be collected from all of the sales that usually take place at Christmas. And we're speaking here about the same government that also says they gave $40 million. They pumped that into the economy and it was spinning around and the place busy. But now they can't pay salaries. They have to be asking for overdraft facilities from the financial institutions to pay salaries.
And that is why, talk is one thing, but action is another thing, right? It's not necessarily what you say. So I was listening to the clip a while ago and I was smiling, because it's not what you say. It's how you transform what you say into action. So you said people would have no problem. They would have their salaries on time. People would have no problem because the payment that they're receiving currently on the seed, it leaves them in poverty. If anything, we would increase that. So what you say is one thing, but translating that into action, I think, is what people are most concerned about. That is what people want to see, action. The words moving into action.
And folks, so those of you just joining us, we're speaking to the Honorable Emmeline Pear, the MP for St. Andrew South East. All right? This lady, nice. And as you mentioned it a little while ago, you mentioned the seed, and I want us to come to the seed. But before we go to the seed, the situation with some of the people in your constituency now, that they've found themselves in this situation, salaries coming in late. They have things that ought to have been paid already that cannot now be paid. They have loans and so on that are due today that they're going to now accrue interest on. What are some of the things you've heard from them directly that they have been facing with this situation?
Well, of course, it's not just about the loans in the bank and the interest and all of that. And that is why I'm saying I'm really hoping that this matter gets totally rectified by tomorrow, right? But think about it. The person who normally makes groceries at the end of the month, right? And we know we just had a weekend. These people were used to, under normal circumstances, let us say last Friday, going to the supermarket, getting items for their families, their children, and there was a certain expectation. So people don't respond over nothing. There would have been an expectation, medication to buy, children to feed, children to go to school this morning, Monday morning. And so some people would have planned around that. Some people would have expected that to happen. And so maybe if I had $50 the week before or $100 the week before, maybe I might have used it in a particular way because I was expecting that I would have gotten paid on Friday. So I believe some people were very hard on these people. When I looked at some of the responses and the comments, it almost sounded as what you're complaining about, right? But sometimes a little empathy, putting ourselves in other people's situation is critical. So you have single parents out there, persons who have children to send to school, persons who would have made commitment. Imagine you took some groceries from the shopkeeper and you said to him on Friday, definitely on Friday, I am going to pay you, because you had that expectation. And then the shopkeeper made a commitment based on what you said that you are going to do, right? So the ripple effect of this, we should not trivialize. I've heard some people use some very ugly words to describe people who were concerned that they went to the bank expecting to be paid and they were not paid, right? I am just saying people are indeed hurting. People are indeed concerned. I cannot say it's everybody. And so those who are not concerned, those who are not hurting, do not behave in such a way to send a message that those who are hurting, those who are affected, should not be, right? We are one society, one Grenadian society, and so we are expected to look out for each other, right? If somebody is affected by a certain action that you are not affected by, Sheldon, I don't think that you should be selfish enough to say, I don't care about you. I got my salary. And so if you didn't get yours, that's your business, right? Remember, everybody's situation would not be the same. And so a number of persons have indicated how this situation would have affected them because of the expectation that they had. And I'm saying, based on pronouncements from the government, I am left to conclude that the government has the money or had the money on that day, based on pronouncement, based on activities. And so I am saying, if you have the money and you knew and know that persons have an expectation, not just an expectation, but a need, then I would have said, and I would still say, then just pay it. Even if you want to prove the point that NNP used to pay it earlier, but that's not the date NNP was supposed to pay it. It's supposed to be the last day of the month, and we're going to bring it to the last day of the month. That's okay. But let's do it next year, January, when people understand and they got the notice to know, wait until the 31st of the month or the 30th of January to get your payment. So when it is clear, so you did not tell me before that you are shifting from the modus operandi, how it was done before, you're changing it. You didn't say that. So we are left with the expectation. Now, if you give the notice and you say, going forward, do not expect your salary on the 26th of January. Expect it on the 31st or the 30th. I think people would have accepted that. They would have understood that, and it would not have been an issue. So I'm just saying, going forward, I think notice should be given in situations like these, because poor people are affected by decisions like these when they are taken.
See, I think there's also, how may I put it, a lack of understanding, not only a lack of empathy, but a lack of understanding how some people survive month to month. They don't have a large savings that they could go in and they save that for a rainy day. And you're putting them in a situation that if they have a savings, they have to dip into it. And if they don't have a savings, they have to go borrowing or they have to do without. And just to understand even that basic concept, to put a letter out like that uncaring, unfeeling, basically embarrassing letter that the government put out on Friday says a lot about the individuals who would oversee something like that. Final question on this one though.
Before you move to another question, let me just make the point in support of what you just said, because I think that's such a critical point. Now, I was in conversation with someone who was explaining how this thing was affecting her and how it affected her. And someone who was in the conversation as well, when I asked the individual, did you receive your salary? The individual commented, I didn't check. I did not check. And I said, okay, I would imagine you have other means. And the person went on to list the other means, right? Explaining to me that they did not even need to go to the bank on the 31st. Because the other means, they are able to carry them through even to the end of February. And I said to the individual, I'm so happy for you, right? But I said, you cannot respond that way because not everyone is in your shoe. Not everyone has the luxury of 1 and 2 and 3 opportunities that they can turn to, and that when the month ends, they don't need to go to the bank by the last day of the month. So it is so important that sometimes we understand that everyone's situation is not the same. And when we call people names, you know, they're greedy and they like everything free. When we say those things, we are missing a fundamental point that everyone is not at the same level in terms of their situation.
Yes, indeed. And folks, it's just about 4 minutes away from the 9 o'clock. We're going to open the phone lines later down. We're not opening the phone lines now. I know some of you're busy, all you want to call. No, all you have to hold on. We're not taking the calls yet. Minister Pierre, last question on this issue. All right? Last question on this one. You've been in 3 administrations with Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. Do you think he would have been out fishing and public workers ain't get paid yet and you're wondering how public workers getting paid? Do you think his Minister of Finance would have been out fishing and public workers ain't get paid yet after 6 weeks waiting for their money? Do you think that would have happened under NNP cabinet?
Sheldon, I don't know what he would have been out doing. I can't say that. But what I can say is this. That Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, would have done everything that he could have literally done to find the money to make sure that these persons would have been paid on time. The instructions would have been given to make sure that persons would have received. Because I believe, and that is my firm belief, that it's hard for people, particularly the poor, ordinary, vulnerable people of our country, that a decision like this would not have been missed. But I think we ought not to mix up the issue of policy and action, huh? Because
Yes,
at the end of the day, when I read the notice that came out, now that speaks of policy, right? In other words, your concern there is really the date that we are supposed to pay, what is written in black and white. And I believe when you have a heart that cares about people, when you have a heart where people's interests and their situation comes first, yes, black and white would exist to say, yes, you're supposed to pay by the 31st. That's the rule, or the 30th, whatever, a day before the month end, whatever the case is. But that heart that cares about people would drive you now to say, yes, it's the 30th we have to pay. But guess what? Nothing would be, the country would not burn down if we have the money and we pay it on the 26th. And I believe he would have given instruction and say, this has been a long month. The money is there, it's available, let's pay it, even if we entitled to pay it on the 30th. That's my humble belief.
I could tell you by last week, Wednesday, people had had the money already, but that's just me. Minister, moving right along, you mentioned it a while ago, the seed program. We're seeing that many people have been taken off of the seed program. The excuse by the government is that component has come to an end. I don't know if the poverty of these people or the situations of these people have changed, but the excuse of the government is that component has come to an end. And then additional to that, you have $150 being taken away from people. We heard the now Prime Minister, when he was seeking to be Prime Minister, saying that the NNP ain't paying enough. They should be paying more in seed. But his administration, after his minister stood up, after the budget was prepared and read and placed on the table, she came out and she said the 150 will remain. And then people started receiving a shock in January. $150 gone. Some people get $75. How has this affected St. Andrew Southeast and St. Andrew on a whole? Because I know you've been hearing from people in different parts of St. Andrew. How has this affected the people of St. Andrew Southeast? And what have you been hearing? I know you speak to your constituency. If it's one thing, I know you speak to them. So what have you been hearing?
You may have seen my post on Facebook on that matter. There were so many calls, Sheldon, so many calls coming in. You know, when people have an expectation, when people believe in something, it could be very shocking. It could be very painful to have an experience like this. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I know that there are some persons who are not affected by this. I know that there are some people who don't understand this, and I'm speaking for the people who have been affected by this situation. The people in question, so I've had calls from persons who are blind, cannot see, and depend on this to get medication, for example, senior citizens, right? People who use this for things that they do that are considered absolutely essential. I've gotten calls from mothers who depend on this on the sums that they receive to send their children to school. And now they are concerned and worried what is going to happen. So I am making the point, Sheldon, that whether you're NNP, you're NDC, you're GULP, you're I don't know what else P we have, right? Whatever political organization that you support, I don't understand how you can go out on a limb to defend this. Quite honestly, I would not see how this could be defended in the way that attempts are being made to defend it. So I could understand if you say, okay, we are going to relook it. We're going to look into it. We'll see if there's something that could be done. This was the intention, but so-and-so is happening, and we are seriously looking into it. Let us see what can happen by the end of February. Now, what I'm hearing is a very vicious approach, particularly on social media, to defend this particular matter. I am of the opinion, and I feel very strongly about this, that this is a matter that I cannot defend, I cannot support, right? When you look at the people who are affected mostly from this, these are people who have a genuine need. And I'll tell you one of the first reasons that I cannot support the explanations that I heard. The first reason being that based on the government's disclosure about their finances thus far, the government has said nothing so far to indicate that there's a financial problem. Absolutely nothing to date. Everything that has been said so far speaks about how well the Treasury looks, or looked well, I don't know how it looks right now, but the availability of resources is what I've heard about. And so that's the very first reason I have a difficulty with this, because if you have the money, then I would say, how could you make a choice? How could you take a policy decision to take $150 from the resources or what is available to the poor and vulnerable, particularly the senior citizens of our country, the people who need it most? I cannot support or defend this on the basis that within weeks of entering government ministers got a $2,000 increase in salaries. It means that if that was possible, and let me make that point, Sheldon, I have absolutely no problem with the fact that government ministers got an increase. As a matter of fact, I can't say they deserve it, because it's like getting an increase before you start the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unusual, right? But if you tell me that government ministers are not paid sufficiently, I would support you 100% based on what is demanded, what is expected of them. So I have no problem with an increase for government ministers, but let me add this caveat here. I have a serious problem when you are going to choose to take an increase ahead of knowing that you are going to take out $150 from a poor man in Soubise, a poor woman in Mamacan, a poor man in Grand Bacolet, a poor woman in Grenville. That I have a problem with. It cannot be justified. And I remember several discussions as it relates to salary increases. And I'll be very honest here tonight in saying that I said to my colleagues several times that I never believed we were going to get a salary increase. I said it several times. And the reason I said it is because it was never the right time. It was never the right time. So Hurricane Ivan come, no, we can't take an increase now, right? Public officers are lobbying for an increase. No, we can't take an increase now. There was always a view of the needs of the people. There was always a view of what people are experiencing. How could you do that for yourself when others are in a worse off situation? So the issue for me is not the salary increase of ministers. And note me very well on that. I make no apology for that statement. My concern is if you're going to take an increase, you must look after those who are vulnerable at the same time. So you cannot turn around after you took $2,000 increase and then take out $150 from senior citizens, poor vulnerable mothers, and then try to justify it by saying the NNP had decided to take it out or was planning to take it out. Well, since when you take advice from NNP and since when you want to follow everything that NNP said, well, something has to be wrong with that. So for that reason also, it is difficult for me on this particular matter. But let me make another point, Sheldon. This government has said several times that we are not honest about their care for the poor and vulnerable and their genuine effort to want to help the poor and vulnerable. Well, I would believe that it is a really terrible statement to make, taking such an action at this time. It is a terrible statement to make. A terrible statement when you just told us that your travel budget for half of the year, last year, was $500,000, $500,000. It is a terrible statement to make. And so if I had to make a suggestion, and I'm quite sure many would find that I'm not fitting to make a suggestion to the government, but if I had to make a suggestion, my suggestion would have been to hold it out for as long as you could have. I've listened to the explanation from the government that there was budget for this program that ended, which is why they had to cut it. Well, I would love for somebody to show me, and I would love to see where the budget for the $2,000 increase in government ministers' salary was stated. I would like to see which budget. So that one was not even in the budget. There was no budget for an increase in salaries for government ministers in 2022. But guess what? And all kudos to the government on this. Note I said I have no problem with this. The government found a way and found the money to pay $2,000 extra for every government minister from then to now, and it's going to continue. Well, let us take that same approach for the 150. Let us find 150 somewhere, and I'm sure it must be somewhere that we can find it, and let us do that, maybe continue from February, give them a retroactive, because not only public servants retroactive applies to, we can give them a retroactive for January and continues to pay them in February. So there are some things that in government, you don't budget for. You don't plan to do it. So when, not Hurricane Ivan, but when COVID came, we did not plan at the time to give every student a tablet and every teacher a laptop in 2020, 21, 22, right? 21. That was not in the budget. It was not in the budget. But you're talking about millions of dollars that were repurposed, meaning that they might have been allocated for a particular purpose, and based on the situation, you repurpose it. You change the direction that the money was supposed to go to facilitate something that is urgent and critical. And I'm saying that this argument that it was not budgeted for, this argument that NNP had planned to end it, this argument I find very difficult to digest. I find it very difficult to digest.
I pretty much find that statement to be intellectually dishonest. I'll just say it like that. Intellectually dishonest. I'm understanding budgetary procedures, understanding, or you could look at all of that. And I often say on the program, since this has happened, that while we could argue all of this, we always have to remember that little lady that's sitting in Mama Can right now, who is 88 going on 89, hoping she can reach 89, and that 150 was the 150 to buy the high blood pressure medication or the diabetes medication that she can't find in the pharmacy, the government pharmacy. That was the medication to buy the cooking gas for the person that's down in Sobeys right now with the children that have to go to school, and to buy the cooking gas or to pay for them to be able to go to school. And so it's much more than, well, NNP was going and cut it and we cut it instead. It's understanding the plight of these people. And I think that's where the empathy disappears.
Let us add there, as you're on that point, that is not only that they use to buy the medication, there's also the other factor that the cost of the medication has gone up drastically. So they're not even going to get the same amount of medication that they used to get previously. And that needs to be considered. So if you are telling us, and that's the other thing that I don't understand. I mean, I'm so confused in this particular situation. You just told us that things are bad. It is going to get worse. Well, when things are bad and they're going to get worse, then your next reaction, your next action is to find a way to cushion the poor and the vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So maybe it would have been a good time to start talking about the $600 that you think they should have been receiving. I would say that would be an excellent move, because you are saying to us that based on the war in Ukraine, based on the cost of fuel and all of those things, based on the world economy and a recession that we expect, based on all of these things, brace yourself. It is going to be a tough 2023. We heard you. And we're bracing ourselves. But there are some people, regardless of what they do, it would be difficult to brace themselves, because these people genuinely deserve help, right? And, something that worries me, Sheldon, in that context is how people respond and has been responding recently to the term poor and vulnerable. I listened a current government minister giving a speech. Sounded really good. As a matter of fact, it sounded like Obama talking. And the minister said, we are going to make Grenada prosperous, right? There'll be no poor people in Grenada anymore. Those were the exact words of the minister. Well, I know, and I wouldn't be foolish to think that he meant that this would be achieved in 2 days, right? So let's not go down the road of me interpreting what he said to mean that right now is what he's speaking about. He's saying in the 5 years term, the NDC is going to make Grenada prosperous and that there will be no poor people in Grenada. I would not say anything to wish the minister bad on the intention. Great intention. Let's make Grenada great again. Let's make Grenada prosperous. Sounds really good. Really, really good. But when you hear people speak about the poor and the vulnerable, there are some people who would tell you they probably feel uncomfortable repeating the term poor and vulnerable because of some of the feedback that they get when it is referred to. And that is why when I did my budget presentation, I reminded us that poverty is not something that is unique to Grenada. In the great United States of America in 2021, I believe the statistics from census was 11.6% poverty. In the United States of America, where so many people want to run to, right? From all over the region, right? The great America, because we expect that things would be far better there. But in case we are not aware, even there, where some persons describe as greener pastures, and of course, we are so thankful for the many Grenadians that have gotten serious opportunities there. But they themselves would tell you that they don't pick up the money on the ground. They have to work hard. And that even there are people who fall into the official category. Over 30 million people in the United States are referred to as under the poverty line. So the fact that there are poor people in Grenada, and when you say that, it is not an obscene, it's not that you're celebrating poverty, but you are acknowledging, and that's the difference. You're not celebrating it. You're acknowledging that there's a percentage of our population that have an issue, a percentage of our population that are under the poverty line, and you are providing the support. So when we speak about seed, it is not celebrating you poor and want to keep you poor permanently. It is an opportunity to rise out of poverty. So the former Minister for Social Development, and of course the current, because I'm sure the records are still there, would tell you how many people graduated from that program, moved on from that program because of the opportunity that they were provided with. So when you speak of poor and vulnerable, for us, the New National Party, when we in government, what we do is not hand out and wanting to, just celebrate the fact that people are poor and keep them poor. It is our way of saying we want to support you out of your situation, assisting you with opportunities. So I thought that point was extremely important to make as well.
Yes, indeed, folks. And it's now 18 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. We're speaking here with the Honorable Emmeline Pear, and she has been speaking about the plight of the people under the SEED program. This is a topic that we have been speaking about here since this thing happened around the 18th, 19th, somewhere there. We have been speaking about this issue. Honorable Pear has spoken on this issue before. You could see her Facebook page. I know today I saw something come out from Senator the Honorable Norland Cox in relation to the SEED issue. We've heard The political leader speaking on it. We've heard the deputy political leader speaking on it. So the New National Party has been speaking on this issue of seed. But as we're speaking about the issue of seed, now we find ourselves in a situation now where we've just had some people that up to now can't receive their salary, and they can't help these people who missing the 150 now, or or the other people who have got nothing this month. I was speaking to an individual earlier. They said they saw some of the seed people, the people who are working in the seed program, laughing and joking that, hey, we take out all of them, they're playing greedy, we take them off the program. We get rid of this one and we get rid of that one off of the program. And that sort of attitude, that sort of lack of empathy for people that we keep getting. It shows in the release that was sent out about pay last week. It shows in the response in relation to these elderly people, these disabled people, people that they can't even leave their bed to go and use the bathroom. They have to use Pampers. And these people have been denied that 150. And I know within your own constituency, you've been hearing quite a bit from them. But what about some of the people in your constituency who were sent home? Let's hear a bit about that one.
So imagine, Sheldon, that you're in a house where you have two senior citizens. They lost that 150. You probably doing some little job, working with the government, and you're taking home a little something, and you're probably able to help them a little. And today you went to the bank and you still did not get your salary, right? And on top of that, we also want to mention, let's say that's an extended family, and so many of the safety net programs were already cut, right? So in our constituency, we have persons who receive support from the government through some of our programs that were also available in other constituencies, and those were cut by the government, right? Now, I've heard reasons like poor management of those programs. I've heard things like, for example, abuse of the programs. I don't know. I've heard so many explanations. You hear so many explanations. Well, my God, if you have a program where a poor family is getting help to send children to school, for example, to pay their transportation, for example, and in constituency A or B or C, wherever it is, that person can go and seek help, whether that child is going to NULO or TAMCC or SGU. And we speak in poverty from another angle, that education is really a vehicle to get out of poverty, right? So if you so really care about these people, and you so really care about ending poverty and getting a situation where no one in Grenada is poor, I look forward to that, and I would support that any day, right? Why now would you say abruptly that this program has ended, where these children, and I know in my constituency some students who had to drop out of school, including SGU, TAMCC, and NULO, because they were receiving assistance with transportation to go to school. Their parents had no other means. So they were not on the seed program because it's just so many the seed program can accommodate. So I am thinking that if you came in and there's a program like that, whatever the problem you had with the program in whichever area, what I thought you would do is improve it, fix it, make it better so that the poor people can benefit from it. When you remove it, it doesn't solve the problem. As a matter of fact, it makes the problem worse because now you're left with a dropout. So I believe that these programs need to be relooked. I've heard that some things were moved to some ministries, taken out from constituencies, moved to a ministry. Well, you expect a person from Telescope or from Sobeys to take a bus and pay a bus to go to St. George's in the ministerial complex to ask for help with transportation for a child to go to school. I don't know, and I don't understand. Whatever you choose to do, I would support, I would encourage. if you're making it better. So you're making it more available, more accessible, and you're probably increasing what people were receiving. So NNP didn't do well enough. You were only getting 200. We are going to increase it. How much did he say? 600. Kudos. I would love that, because the people that I care about would benefit. So if you increase it from 2 to 600, no problem. I would never criticize that, right? And that is why I'm saying there are some things that some people will not understand because they are not in the category of people who are affected, and maybe empathy is a challenge. So it's a little hard to understand why somebody would make a talk, as it was described, about losing just 150. For some people, 150 is all they have. For some people, that's all they have, right? And then you have the issue of the people who are working in the constituency up to June 2022, just before the general elections. Sheldon, I do not just say figures. The office is keeping a list and a count of all these people. And tonight, up to this evening, we counted 88 people from St. Andrew Southeast who, since the election, was sent home. I find it very difficult.
One minute. I want you to go over those figures again. I ain't too sure I hear what you say there. Go over those figures again.
Between the day of election and today, my office has been able to document 88 ordinary people who have been sent home since the new administration took office. And I'm talking about people who are involved in programs such as the housing, the bathroom and toilet, the community brigade, the geriatric programs, all of those programs which were not only providing service to the community and to people, vulnerable people, but these people had a source of income on a monthly basis. And I'm very disturbed about the fact that these people have lost their jobs since the election when they were given the assurance. And I'm not going to fool myself. Some of these 88 people did not vote for me. I'm not going to fool myself. But they are Grenadians, they are constituents. And since the election, I assume that because they were engaged by the parliamentary representative office or program within the parliamentary, the constituency, or through a program that was initiated in the constituency, whether it's Housing Brigade, through the ministry in partnership with the constituency office, that just on that basis, that these people were sent home. I am extremely concerned because these are people, again, many single parents, many people who are struggling and were depending on these resources. There's a particular case that I wish I could have shared, but I prefer not to share it tonight. I prefer not to be the one who would make the first statement on this matter. Very, very, very depressing. Very depressing, right? And I'm just appealing to the administration. The fact that you came into office and you said monies was not a problem, you were very impressed with the state of the National Treasury. The fact that this government was able to do things that, in my opinion, I don't think was absolutely necessary, like when you look at the travels, for example. The former Prime Minister had a very strict protocol as it relates to travel. And there were times I questioned in my mind about it. But when I thought about it in a deeper way, if everyone who invited you to a meeting to achieve their objective, you take the state resources to attend that meeting, then I would think that you basically saying that you don't care too much about the limited resources of the country. So the policy then was If they're inviting you to come to their meeting, you should encourage them to cover the cost. And so when you bring a submission for travel, you want to justify how you're going to get there. So there are several meetings. I remember sometime in June or May last year, I was invited to a meeting in England, in London to be specific. You know what a ticket is to go to London, right? When I saw the invitation, it's a meeting I would have loved to go, speaking about education and opportunities in education and so on, and COVID and how it's affecting the education sector, and all of great discussions. But when I thought about the cost of accommodation, the cost of the ticket to go there, I did not even bring a submission to cabinet for me to travel. I brought a submission asking for the ambassador who was resident in London at the time to represent me at that meeting. Former Minister of Government Clarice Charles in Cuba would also tell you that there are some meetings she would have attended in Cuba representing different ministries and ministers, right? And it is not that ministers didn't want to go or would not have loved to go, but when they reflected on the cost, they had to find a more cost-effective way to do business. And so because of those decisions, $500,000 just on travel, I am convinced that money is not the problem. I am convinced that money is not the problem. And therefore, what other reason or justification would you have for sending all these people home? Right? I would have thought that if you say something like, we are going to review these programs for 1 month. We want to see what strategies we can use to improve them, to employ more people, to increase supervision, all of that, I would support, Sheldon. But when you send 88 people in one constituency home, there is nothing that I can think about to justify or to defend this. It is a blow, a very hard blow on poor, vulnerable, ordinary people.
Yes, indeed. And folks, we're going to open the phone lines about now, 440-7377. You can call direct, or you can also call via WhatsApp using that number. And we're also taking calls on 347-329-3101. Yeah, I always mix up the overseas line for some reason. But it's I say it right, 347-329-3101. So we can take the calls from you all. In the news recently, I've seen a situation within your constituency, the plight of some vendors. But before we get to the vendors, there's a caller on the line. Let me just punch in that caller. We have a call on the line. Good night.
Brother Sheldon.
Hi, good night.
Good night, Mr. Pierre. I say Mr. Pierre. Yeah, Brother Sheldon and Mrs. Pierre. You know, I remember in 2008, where with the school uniform and the transport allowance for the children, what NDC was trying to do, that give those who could afford to send their children, alright, send their children to school. And so that what would have happened? The poor people that was getting the assistance from the government for the children to send to school, pay the bus allowance for uniform, to give those that could afford to send their children and were driving to the school, to automatically come like you're taking from the poor people to give to the rich. They become like a part. That was the policy in 2008. And when you check your record again in 2023, where you're taking it from the poor people to enlarge the rich, that becomes like a policy for NDC. Always, I don't know what they have against the poor workers of people. And when I sit down and analyze something, Mrs. Spear, you find in opposition and they say something. But when government, they do the opposite. The opposite. They trigger people. And I want the greater people to always, yes, there's a word saying you could forgive, but you should not forget. I mean, man, we have like to say Grenada is a Christian country. I asked myself a question: how could we see something so going on with the poor people country, and we rejoicing, feeling happy about it? And that's one of some of the people that sent home. They may go into the same church with you. And when Sunday morning come and they end up in the same church, you come and say, brother, sister, I love you. How could you love me when you rejoicing? When I have 4 or 5 children, and we take away the bread from my hand, I'm unable to send my children to school, give them a proper meal to go to school. How could you feel happy about that? Happy about it? Because I always say, the word of God said, for whatsoever you did unto the least, you did unto me. You did unto me. Alright? And say love. God said to love he and to love he and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves.
All right, brother.
Okay, Brother Sheldon, have a minute.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Any response, Honorable Pierre?
That is why we are known as a government, the NNP administration, to be very cautious about the policies that we adopt and how they affect poor people. And I know some people don't like to hear it, but the reality is, I believe we have a mandate to take care of the poor among us, to help them, not just to stay in their situation, to help them out of poverty, educating their children. Sometimes I think in the budget, I said it, when you look at the hundreds of millions of dollars spent in education, for example, scholarships. Now, these are measures targeted at poor people. Look at the children who are getting those scholarships. They come from homes where there is poverty. And the strategy of the government is to help to lift these families up by educating the younger ones in the families. It is why, for example, and I'll give you that bit of information there. In 2022, when Minister Bowen would have read that budget speech, he made reference to 3 measures, for example. And quite obviously, those measures were taken because of what people were facing in terms of the economic situation. We know COVID and all that happened and how some people were affected. So the natural response of a government when you have a crisis, when you have a situation, is to look at what you can do to support and to protect, to cushion the effects on the poor people, the poorer class of people. And so what did he announce? Removal of VAT on first 500 kilowatts of electricity consumed, right? 96% of the household in Grenada consume less than 500 kilowatts. So already that policy position, that policy decision, is directly targeting the less fortunate among us, those families that cannot afford. Then he went on, he said, we're going to remove, and not just went on to say it, it was done, the removal of the environmental levy for household using below the same 500 kilowatts of electricity. Because you want to cushion people. You want to ensure in times of difficulties that you make things a little easier for them. He went on further to say the reduce of non-fuel charge on electricity, 25% reduction. Now, if you ask me, and unless people are not going to the shops, going to the supermarkets, going to the pharmacies, if you're not going there, you might not understand this, but if you go into the shops in the communities, if you go into the supermarkets, if you go in places where poor people are accessing goods and services, you would conclude with me that things have not improved from June 2022. The cost of goods have gone up, even when the government would have announced special measures for businessmen, and I'm happy for them, but that has had no effect on the cost of goods for the person who is consuming it. I don't know what effect it had for those people who are buying the goods, but I can tell you it has had no effect on the people who are consuming the goods, right? Mm-hmm. What did the government do? Those measures that I just made reference to there now, the government came and they're reinstating the environmental levy. So what was reduced, what was removed as measures that would support and cushion these people in a time when the situation has gotten worse. I would support this if the situation got better. And you say, okay, it was done because of that situation. The situation has improved. We have gone past this. Cost of living has gone down. Cost of goods have gone down. So here what? We are going to put it back to what it was before. But you cannot take a decision like that in a time when the cost of goods are going up. The cost of living is going up. The cost of electricity is going up. The cost of water is going up. NIS contribution is going up. Now, it is either that you're not seeing the plight of the people, you don't understand the plight of the people, or you don't care. And I'll be very careful to say, I'm not sure which one it is. I'll be very careful to say, I don't know one, but it must be one of the three.
Honorable Pell, we do have a caller online, so let me just pull the caller on. They've been persistent. Good night, caller.
Good night, Sheldon, and good night to your guests there.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, that's Miss Claire that is on with you, huh?
Yes, it is.
Right, Miss Claire, I want to ask you something. It's very important. When you were in government, you heard the bills that was passed, and a budget does be for 1 year. And if there is necessity for additional payment outside of the budget, your government used to find the money. Now, this is a simple sign of for removing 150 from these vulnerable people. These poor people, in my area, a lot of them has been balling. And I don't want to use the term again, but I will always use it. These are people who need. Now, this is applied to tell us that, as you rightfully say, hard times would be there. But when you have a government that cannot pay on the 30th or the 31st of the month, of every month, and they're telling you salary month and people supposed to get paid, it shows definitely a weakness in budgeting or finding money that you don't have. When you spend money, you need to know where money is coming from in order to replace the money that you spend. But this government just spend lavishly. And that is why I am asking you the question. Do you think there is no money in the treasury to pay salaries for next month, Ms. Pierre? That's your question.
And my answer to this, I'll be very responsible in my answer. And I would say that I have heard nothing from the government to indicate that there is a financial problem, right? As I've said before, all the signs that I've seen in terms of the government's spending, the government's decision has indicated to me that the government has monies. Unless the government says and makes a statement that there's a financial problem, I would not make a statement to that effect. So I'm not going to assume. So there are things I can assume based on things I have heard, but I'm going to be very responsible and speak to what the government has disclosed to this point. The Prime Minister presented a very colorful budget, very ambitious budget, and I pray to God that everything that was stated, that they would be able to do it. I pray that everything that was allocated, that the allocations would come through and that the people of our country would benefit from it, right? So I am not going to make a statement. I am not going to assume. I'm not going to predict. I'm not going to prophesy. I'm not going to do anything along that line as it relates to what I don't know. What I know is what I want to speak to. And what I know is this: based on how the government has been spending thus far, it appears to me that the government has the resources that they can use. Based on the fact that a government can choose to allocate resources or bring in, as we normally say it in the terms, in a supplemental at a later time in the year, based on the fact that I know that monies can be reallocated, redirected. So there might be a project in the Ministry of Sports, for example, that is not scheduled to start till maybe in August, September, and we are in January, and you can now decide, listen, we are going to take from this line item here, we are going to spend for that line item, and we are going to pull back this money when we get to June, July, and we are ready to do the supplemental. Because it means that if you have that money sitting there for that project that is to start till in September, I mean, think about it, is home maths and home finance the same thing? You put away a little money under the mattress to do something in December, and you know that you're going to get this money that is coming in June. So you decide, okay, I'm going to borrow $100 from it, and I'm going to do this, which is immediate and urgent. My child need an X-ray right now. So I'm not going to leave that $200 under the mattress there for December when my child need an X-ray in January. And it's the same way government resources work. So when you tell me you don't have money to give the people $150, well, that is a bitter pill for me to swallow, because there must be a project that you have resources available for. There must be something in the ministry that is not as critical and urgent as that you can repurpose the funds if the monies are not available. I have heard the explanation that the reason we cannot do it is because we were hoping to get savings from the said project that we can now use now. This, quite honestly, I'm very sorry.
I have to laugh. I really have to laugh at that one.
I'm very sorry. But the bottom line is this. Now, you are going to recertify people. I mean, I'm literally lost for words on this explanation. So you take out an adventure to recertify people, and you are hoping that you're going to remove so many people from that list that you're going to have enough money to pay people who are on the list. I mean, I find it difficult to explain this. I find it very difficult. And I'm not often lost for words, but that one tripped me. You are planning to remove enough people from the list so that you'll have enough savings to continue to pay hundreds of people $150 per month. You know, that subject, I believe the less people say about it to defend it, I think would be the better. The less that is said to defend this program is the better. I just want to end on, I mean, this thing is very depressing to talk about. I would just want to end it by saying this. There must be a way. There is a way. And I want to encourage, I want to appeal. Let's find a way and let us help these people. And I'm talking about people who are desperately in need of it. The people who plan to get their medication and they still have not been able to buy it between then and now. The people who don't have somebody that they could turn to. You know, there are people who have people they can turn to. Lend me $1,000 then, give me $500. And these people are going to provide. But guess what? There are still people among us who don't have somebody that they could even ask for $5. And then somebody made the point, well, what is $5 or $10 increase for water consumption? Well, again, when I hear those statements, then I start getting a little bit concerned that we still have people among us who don't understand realities. Because for one family, that is $10 or $5 that they can go to the shop and buy a pound of back neck, a pound of chicken wings, and in some cases, it might not even make the pound. Now, I know that we have people who buy back neck for their dogs. I know that. But let us not miss the point that there are poor, vulnerable people who cannot buy steak. Let us just remember that. And even if you have that perception of back and neck, for example, then let's remember you still have people like me who like it in oil down. So the point I'm making is that there are people these things mean a lot too. Let us not just dismiss them and speak about them as if they don't form a part of our society and they're not important, and they're insignificant. I mean, my God, when I hear some of the statements, it is frightening that we are still supposed to be a country united on the way to celebrating 50 years of independence. It is frightening.
Yes, indeed. Honorable Emlyn Pierre, I was asking you a question on the vendors, but before I take any more calls, I want to get your views on the situation that's happening in Grenville with the vendors right now, because from how I'm picking it up, it's like they're being told, hey, you have to go. You can't stay here, but not being told where they're going to go to. And a question that came in via WhatsApp to me a little while ago, I think is very important. The 88 people in your constituency, do you have a figure of how many of them are women that have been sent home? Especially women in single family, in single parent households. And so do you have a figure of how many of them are women that have been sent home in your constituency? That's a pretty high number. And if that's one constituency, I shudder to think what has gone on in many of the others. So how many women, and then the vendor situation?
Actual figures, my office would have collected that data. But definitely, most of them would be women, and many of them single mothers. Definitely, I don't even have to see the data to tell you that. What I paid attention today was just the number, right? Just the number. The issue of the vendors. So I saw a correspondence, and I have to say that I try to use credible sources for whatever information I get, especially if I'm going to repeat. I don't just, talk based on what I hear. So the source that provided the information, I consider to be credible. And that source indicated that the vendors were to find a place. Now, let me say this, and I'm always very careful when I'm speaking publicly on issues. I do not want to say anything that is misleading, anything that is inaccurate. So I'm saying the source that provided that information, I consider it to be quite reliable. And the source indicated that the vendors were asked to find a place. Now, if that is the case, I'll be very concerned. I am very concerned. Now, if the vendors have to move, an organized, structured, a way must be arranged to facilitate a smooth transition from where they are to wherever they're going to go. And I recall that there were some discussions in the past as it relates to this particular issue in terms of ensuring that there's a place where these people are as comfortable as possible. I would suggest humbly that some committee be formed, some group of people meet and discuss the logistical arrangement for moving the people. I would not be dishonest to say here tonight, oh, they should not move, oh, these people should stay where they are. I'll be foolish to say that when I know that this is a project that was in the pipeline by the previous administration. The only thing left to do when we were exiting office was, one, the relocation of the vendors, and two, the other thing that was left to do was to finalize the arrangement with the partner. As you know, well, I don't know if that has changed, but the arrangement then was to go into a private-public partnership with the Grenada Cooperative Bank on that project. And everything was finalized in that regard. Everything was organized. There was just some final decisions to be taken as to how the financing aspect was going to roll out. So there has been a further delay on this, quite obviously. I did not expect it to take this long to get to the stage of relocating the vendors. And I'm going to make a very strong appeal. Please take charge of this situation and manage it well. Manage it well in the interest of the poor vendors. Already, Sheldon, not much activities are taking place in Grenville. Already these vendors would tell you that the Christmas holidays was one that they were severely affected because of the level of business in Grenville. Most business people would tell you that in Grenville. Something just didn't happen this Christmas, right? And so on top of that, to make them uncomfortable, to move them in a way that creates a problem for them, I would say, let's rethink and form some kind of committee, pull some people together, get the key stakeholders, get them involved, and let us come up with an arrangement that is a win-win situation that gets the building going so you can have some additional economic activities in Grenville, get the vendors comfortable, and let us move forward, right? I'm sure some people would be happy to hear me say that. Let's move forward.
Yes, indeed. And as we're speaking about that project, I know there were several other initiatives within St. Andrew Southeast and St. Andrew on a whole that were undertaken by the New National Party. What have you been hearing? What have you been seeing? What is being continued? What has been discontinued? Give us a rundown of some of what was taking place, what ought to be taking place, and so on within the constituency and the parish itself.
Well, I would definitely want to limit my conversation on the parish because I would love to give an opportunity to my other colleagues to speak on their constituency, right? So I did speak about the vending situation is directly in my constituency. I also want to make mention of the sidewalks. After the election, the work continues. The contractors were already hired. They were already working. But guess what? I'm raising this issue because I have heard persons made mention of this initiative being a waste of monies, and they were surprised to see flooding in Grenville and so on. And I was also surprised that persons were thinking that way. And guess what? You know, we're an administration that like to take responsibility. So I would say we should take responsibility for not clearly explaining to people that this project was never intended to stop flooding in Grenville. To stop flooding in Grenville, for persons who do not understand, that would require a major project, hundreds of millions of dollars, I assume, because Grenville is under seawater level. So there's nothing you can do leaving it as is that would solve the flooding problem. There might be some mitigation efforts. There might be some reduction slightly, but to stop flooding in Grenville, trust me, it would be way more than fixing the sidewalks. So guess what? There were many persons appealing to us to fix the sidewalks because of concerns for pedestrians walking around Grenville. Many people would recall the postings on Facebook when somebody fell and went down in one of those holes, right? We would remember the complaint when somebody broke their foot walking and getting tripped between the culverts, right? That was why we aggressively push. And I want to give some credit also to Sister Yolan Bain Hosford, because she also lived in the tongue of Grenville. So while most of the tongue of Grenville falls under my constituency, she actually is a resident of Grenville as well. And she also has part of Grenville that falls under her constituency. And she was also one of the persons that was strongly advocating for addressing that problem, because I would believe if somebody fell or somebody broke their foot, she might hear it even before me because she's right there, right? So I want to give credit also to the major engineer involved in designing this. I don't remember his first name, last name, Mr. Walker. So most people would be able to identify him as former MP Arlen Walker's son. I believe he was the lead engineer on this project. And I'm thankful, I'm grateful for what was achieved, right? I believe people who walk around Grenville, they would say that it has brought some relief to them. And it's something I'm really happy that we have been able to accomplish in the tongue of Grenville. But I want us to zero in more on my constituency and leave other things so that other former ministers or representatives would be able to speak to. There are a couple projects and things, again, that associates with the people of the class that we consider to need the most help. So in our constituency, when the debushing program goes on, we would have between 30 and 35 gangs of people working. And it is not just because we wanted to see the side of the road clean. I mean, that's a good reason to do it. But the most important reason was to give people an opportunity to get an income seasonally. So again, some people would ask what the bushing money can do. Well, you go ask the people who got it what they did, and they would tell you, as old people would say, as country people would say, it covered a hole. It made some ends meet. It meant something to them. So that is why I've come to appreciate why it is important to them. Sometimes some people don't see it this way. So not only did you reduce the number of gangs, meaning significantly reduce the number of people who have not had an opportunity to be part of that program, but you also reduce the time frame. So even those who worked, the period that they worked was just 2 fortnights, especially in a time leading up to the Christmas season when the needs were even greater. So programs like these, we don't believe that government should even think, far less to reduce them or to cut them. You have the housing program where people received housing assistance, materials. And there were so many persons who were already assessed. So we had a team that went out, did the measurements, assessed their situation, ranked them a scale of 0 to 10. And all of the people between 8 and 10 were classified as needing urgent assistance. And that was in train, that was in the pipeline. Some of those would have even got to the stage of being at the hardware, some at the stage of the ministry, etc. And most of these people, over 90% of them, I would say, have not yet received assistance in the last 6 to 7 months, right? I am extremely concerned about that. And it's one of the programs I would encourage that there be some urgency to increase the activities in the housing program. But not only the housing program, you had the people who went to the homes where people were not in a position to do the repairs, and you don't want the materials lying under the house. So you had the brigades that went out and actually helped people to repair their homes. The concern is that these persons are no longer engaged. And so these persons who got the materials do not have the assistance, cannot afford the assistance. The cost of living has gone up for them. You're increasing their water bill now. You're increasing their electricity bill. You're taking away from the people in the home who benefited from the seed program. And on top of that, they're still looking for some help to repair their homes. Then you had the bathroom and toilet program. Again, that program was just stopped. And not just stopped, people who received material and were waiting for the brigade to come already have the material. They would tell you the cement is no longer good, waste of money. So I would have thought that what you could have done, finish up these persons, use the material, ensure that you reduce and you minimize wastage. And while you're doing that, you look at ways in which you can improve the program. As I said, anything to improve, anything to give more, anything to support, I will be supportive as well. But guess what? There was situations, and I know of an actual situation where the crew was working on the house today. So imagine you're on my roof, repairing my roof today. And by the time you left my house, you got a notice that today is your last day. So I'm sure you might be crying because today is your last day, but I'm also crying because my roof is uncovered. And I'm saying when we take these decisions, we have to be mindful of how those decisions impact and affect poor, ordinary people. And that is another area of concern. So you have the devotion, you have the bathroom and toilets, you have the housing program, and so many of those programs that targeted people who needed support, those were just removed. But let me make the point that is also affecting all of the MPs elected from the New National Party. Sometimes it pains me when people come to me and I either don't know what to say to them, And that's the truth. Sometimes I just don't know. I don't have the answer. So if you come and ask me right now, how can you get help to send a child to school to pay transportation as the parliamentary representative? I have absolutely no information that I can share with you. Because since the last election, the only information I've received officially from the government is to say no more programs must be continued at your office. That is all we were told. Everything goes on hold. It is still holding from June 2022. It is still in hold. I don't know what is going to happen, and I can't say anything to anybody. Right? Sometimes people tell me that they are told that you have to go to the NDC office in Grenville to find out this and that and the other. Well, to be quite honest, Sheldon, if you want to give me less things to do, give somebody else more to do, and the people get the benefit, quite honestly, I'm not even going to waste time to argue where they have to go to get it. Right? My point is provide a way that people can access services and the needs of people can be met. So I don't care if it's in the TNP office, the GULP office, wherever they have to go. All I'm saying is meet the needs of the people of the constituency, right? There was a time when we might have been concerned about which office they go to. I'm not concerned. Once they get help, that's my concern, right? But there are some infrastructural projects. I raised this with the minister for agriculture, is it? I don't even remember which ministry. But the minister who presented on farm roads, I raised the concern that the road from Post Royal to Mackay in St. Andrew, I was given the assurance that that road was going to be on the 2020 list of farm roads for development. When the list was given in Parliament in December, I was pretty shocked that I did not hear that road. And the minister has since given me the assurance. When I raised it, he came back to my table and he said to me, he's sorry, he did not realize. And I take his word and I'm holding on to that word that it will be added, right? It is a very long time. We have been waiting for that. And the other roads that were done before, I supported the other ministers, the other MPs, because I felt that when they stated the road that were being addressed, I supported. And I said, let us do that one for 2023, for 2022. And I'm saying again that I am really on the expecting end that this road would be done this year. The Sea Defense project for Telescope, again, that is a project I expected to see some more movements based on the progress that was made before. I have not seen or heard anything to date, and I'm still very hopeful that this will happen in 2023, right? That's another project that is of great concern to me. The upgrade of the Hope Pasture, the Mackay Bridge that has been damaged. Some of these projects, the engineers came, the Croshoe basketball court. Some of these projects, the engineers came, the scope of works were done. In some cases, awaiting the process of getting a contractor and so on. In some cases, a contractor was already arranged. And some of these projects, I can't go through them all, but some of these projects I have heard absolutely nothing. My hope and my prayer is that not hearing something doesn't mean that it's not happening. So if it's happening and I don't hear, I'm okay. So I'm just saying I am hoping that those projects have not gone out of the door and that they are going to happen. Things like the after-school programs, the soft projects, all of those programs were stopped since the election. Cases where you could have assisted an old lady to get some medication and somebody has I remember a child falling, $1,800 the parent needed immediately to get a scan for that child, right? Those are things we could have facilitated in emergencies, and we could have made the necessary arrangement with the service provider and so on. All of those programs have been removed. I don't know if there's another place they are offered. I just don't have any information. Our offices have been provided with no information, and we are told that no programs are going to happen under our offices. They are all on hold. I don't know what the future holds. I can't prophesy. But I'm saying, while the grass is growing, the horse is starving. I think that is so very important.
Yes, indeed. And folks, yeah, we know we've gone over our time. We know that we've gone over our time. But when we have the Honorable Emlyn Pierre here, we have a lot we have to talk about. We have a lot we have to talk about. We're gonna go for about another 10 minutes. Minister Pierre, I know if you want to grab your glass of water, so you could grab your glass of water right now. We're gonna ask the technical operator to switch over. Nice, right? So you could get your glass of water, your bottle of water, and so on right now. And we're gonna take I'm gonna take at least 3 to 4 calls. Let me take the first call. We have a call on the local line. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Sheldon Scott.
Hey, Kiami.
And good night to Mistress Pierre, Emlyn Pierre. Good night. And good night to the Grenadian people who is listening home and abroad. Well, Sheldon.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm here.
I listened to Miss Pierre tonight. I listened to all what she said. And I shocked to hear what the lady is saying there. Because you said 80 people. She said 88.
88.
And I can't believe that because you know why I am saying I cannot believe that? I hear people in the town of St. George as Grenadians that is living in Grenada. I seen them passing every day taking bus for Grenville. Saying them, they don't send them these people a lie. Yeah? So it's really hard for me to... I shocked. You understand? And I want to find out if these people that witnessed it in Grenville, like Stokes, he was the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance. He always wear his tie on his shoulder. If you don't know this thing happening, that people that vote for him go home, people that give him an X and put him in office, I wonder if these people are asleep at night. But who to blame for that now? I just ask myself the same question. Who to be blamed for these 88 people to go home and now the people to go and finish the toilet and bathroom? Who to be blamed? They had warned these people. They had warned them. The Prime Minister, Mr. Dick Mitchell, promised the people. I heard the clip. With my ears. He said, he don't send it home. Nobody will make them prominent. I want to know if these people come from rich family. All the ministers under the NDC, if the parents was bourgeois people, to be taking advantage and poor people. God forbid all you leave office. All you don't stay in Grenada. They won't stay in Grenada to walk the street. I don't understand. It's hard for me to believe this thing is going on in Grenada in this day and age. And Doom rejoicing. They're rejoicing over people. What's going on? You know what I seen in my eyes as a grandmother? I am 66 years of age with 10 grandchildren. The amount of young people that is not going to school and they're straying around the terminal. They're straying around the terminal. I see that in my eyes. I don't have to call and lie. I see that children don't have money to pay the bus. I personally just have to put them on the bus and pay the driver. Before I leave the town of St. George this afternoon, there was a little boy in a blue shirt, a brown khaki pants. I don't know if it's Bolio school he's going to or Happy Hill. He was on the terminal for more than an hour. And I had to ask a busman to bring him home. He said he lives in Granite. You understand? So I don't know If it's ministers and young women in that government that won't stand up and say, we can't do that for children. We cannot do that. None of them women, children come from a woman's belly, and they cannot say we can't do that and stand up and speak. Lord have mercy. My advice to the Grenadian people as I am speaking here tonight, go on with knees and pray. We have to pray. They light too much a candle, and they didn't know the meaning of lighting a candle. We have to go on with knees and pray.
Indeed, Kami. Indeed.
Pray. Good night. Good night, Grenada.
Good night, Cam.
Grenada is dark. Grenada, you have a dark cloud over Grenada. And
all right.
Of them go say, one door, I am telling you all.
Kami.
Have a good night.
Same to you, my dear. Yes, indeed, folks. And if you all got a call, you got a call right about now because we're getting close to wrapping up. Minister Pierre, I can't let you leave without telling us what's going on for independence. I know in years gone by, I used to come up in St. Andrew Southeast and go to every polling division and eat oil down. I used to come down looking like oil down, my fingers colored oil down, I tasting all kind of oil down. What's taking place? What independence activities do you have this year? And I know you have another activity coming up soon. Tell us a little bit about that as we're getting ready to close off.
Right. So that's actually all related to the independence celebration, as you rightfully said. Normally, every year we do something to observe our independence through celebration. And of course, we would have some PD activities. That's definite. But our main activity is going to be on the 11th. And I am actually looking forward to that. One of the things I don't like about around that time is I do put on a 2 pounds because when you go here, they want you to taste their food. They want you, and you know, when you say, okay, I just want to taste it, just a little. No, you have to eat. Then they're not satisfied. Eat what they cook. They want to eat what they cook. So we have our main activity, which is going to be actually in Crowshoe playing field. And that's on the 11th. It's a Saturday, and we're inviting you to come up and to enjoy that. So what we're going to be having is the oil down competition. So we have different pots that are being sponsored by different polling divisions. Guess what? Former MP Oliver Joseph is coming up with a team of cricketers to come up against Southeast cricketers. So we're going to have St. David's versus St. Andrew Southeast. Of course, the children are going to have their bouncing castle and their face painting and their horseback riding and all of that. We encourage people to come in their colors. So we're going to be judging persons who are coming looking independence, like, for want of a better term, for that. And we just want to have an evening of, you know, being together, having fun, celebrating. We get in there to 50 and we are looking forward to that, but we want to celebrate in that kind of environment, right? I am really looking forward to that. And I really want to thank Sheldon, even at this point, the committee of persons who are working with me on this project. I want to thank also the persons who have come forward and said they want to support, they want to sponsor, they want to, you know, they just want to do something. And I really want to thank them, take this opportunity. I can't disclose names at this stage, but I just want to say thanks to everyone who know that they're part of working towards this activity on the 11th. So it's from 2 p.m. In the afternoon on the 11th, and that is the Crowshoe playing field just behind the Crowshoe Primary School, what you call the St. Martin de Porres Primary School. I'm encouraging persons to come out, you know, and I mean, a lot is happening. Let's come out and take a little break and, you know, relax a little bit for that afternoon.
Yes, indeed. And once you talk oil long and St. Andrew Southeast, Honorable Pierre, you know, a day in that. I think I've tasted every type of oil long it's after tasting St. Andrew Southeast. So all
the colors you can find in it and meat.
And I like my seafood and think I get seafood, I get everything. And any final words as we close off tonight's program?
Just to say on the oil dung that we are not charging persons. You come, the cooks are doing their thing, and people who come, we're going to feed them the food that is prepared. So it's actually free oil dung that is going to be available. Okay, and as I said, I am so grateful for the persons who have come forward to say, we want to help sponsor this to make it a success. Before I go, Sheldon, I just want to close by thanking you for this opportunity to address, those very critical issues. As you know, I am extremely, extremely concerned about those things that are affecting the poor and the vulnerable within our country, affecting people who have as well, right? So it's not just the poor and the vulnerable, but when you look at what has happened since June, I am happy for the measures for those who are not poor and vulnerable, right? The Prime Minister, I believe, spoke in his budget presentation, and he said, it's no longer pie in the sky. The pie is on the plate, right? And I'm sincere when I say to you, Sheldon, I am so very happy for those people who have pie on their plate. I am very happy for them, and I don't want them to lose their pie. As a matter of fact, I wish they get more pie. But I am very concerned that while some people have a lot of pie on their plate, there are some people who have not received pie from June 2023. And for some people, the little pie that they had on their plates is being removed. And that concerns me significantly. And I'm just appealing tonight to everyone who has a voice around the decision-making table to please remember that everyone may not be in the same position as those persons who are making the decision. Sometimes when we talk around the table, we can be speaking as if we are talking about ourselves and forget that the subject is not us. So I want to appeal, when we go around the decision-making table, forget about ourselves a little bit and let us think about how the policies, how the programs can negatively impact those who are not around the table. And we know most of the people are not around the table. There's only few people around the table. Let us have a heart for these people. Let us think of them. I am not advocating tonight that we did everything perfect in terms of those programs and policies that were rolled out. So if you tell me that I am saying that the seed program was perfect, I would tell you didn't understand a word I said tonight, right? It was not perfect. So I would not argue that there might be something in the seed program that probably needs to be improved, need to be probably shaped in a different way, need to be done in a different way. I'm okay with that. I am accepting that almost every program that our government would have implemented may have had some sort of challenge, some sort of weakness. Guess why? Because when people are implementing programs, you expect that. If robots are doing it, it might minimize some of the challenges. But when people are involved, you have to expect that there will be challenges. So I am saying, expand the programs, improve the programs, find ways to make the program better. But don't take action that at the end of the day, the people who benefited from those programs, who need those programs, are worse off. I am appealing that $150, who so many people in need. So if you come and argue with me and you say, I know somebody who didn't need it was getting it, I would say to you, let me see the facts. And if I agree with you that the person didn't need it, I would say, well, I'm not talking about that person. So I'm saying the people who need it, let us make sure that we reconsider. And that at the end of February, I'm even taking back a statement that I made before. If you can't afford to give them the retroactive, at the end of February, just start giving them back from the end of February. And that would be my plea tonight to the government.
All right. Honorable Peer, we'd like to thank you so very much for being here with us. And as you're there, we offer you the opportunity to be back as soon as you want on Talking Points with us. Have a wonderful night and continue doing the wonderful job that you are doing. We thank you so very much.
Indeed. Especially those from St. Andrews Southeast who are on. Good night, everybody.
Indeed. And folks, yeah, don't run off yet, you guys. Don't run off yet. Because I want to play something for you. Yeah, we had to play something for you before we go. We can't go without playing the new road marches and them. We had to play them. I'm playing them one after the other. We're gonna play the new road marches for you. So let me hit it. Yeah.
Here's the excuse that will be made. The excuse that will be made is it's a lot of money. Well, Grenadians deserve a lot of money.
So let me zero in. You have a seed program. The World Bank says, if you're making... So let me zero in. You have a seed program. The World Bank says, if you're making $650 or less, you're poor. Yet still, the seed program is only paying you $350 and $450. They are aware of the World Bank report. Why then raise the seed program to $650 or more? So if they're interested in truly alleviating poverty or truly helping you, they would raise the figure to $650 or more. So I'm saying to all of the persons who are genuinely on the seed program, particularly our older citizens, who would have worked to help build Grenada, the seed program should be for you, for people who are differently able, for elder citizens.
Empty treasury. We in the NDC, we have the exposure. We have had the exposure. Good? And we know what to do to find money, to look after the needs of our people. And as I have the mic, let me say, as we go around the country and we speak to our people, that's a topic that they always say to us, we go pay salary late and we don't know how to run a country. Tell them that we say we know how to run a country and tell them that we wouldn't pay salary late. All right? Tell them that affirmatively. We're not going to pay salary late and we know how to run a country.
Folks, that's all the time we have for talking points tonight. Yeah, it had actually things that I wanted to raise tonight that I haven't raised. So you better tune in early tomorrow night. We starting early tomorrow night. We on time. We starting early tomorrow night because I have clips that I ain't play yet and I have things to expose that I ain't exposed yet. Yeah, for instance, I'll tell you this one quickly before we go off. Yeah, the excise tax that the Prime Minister promised that they're going to implement from the 1st of March, on Friday, it was gazetted and the SR&O in relation to it was sent out. In other words, what he promised to do in March, he did on Friday. Folks, that's all the time we have for tonight. It's been wonderful being here with you. To all the listeners, all the callers, and especially to the Honorable Emlyn Pear for joining us for such a length of time tonight. We thank her. I thank you. And in everything you say and do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. Love you all unconditionally. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'm out of here. Remember, we're going to be back tomorrow night from 8 p.m. with more Talking Points, the most dangerous program in Grenada.
My government has decided to continue the vertical
Refrain. Yellow, yellow all the way is what everybody say. Cell phone ring, man answering. Yellow, yellow, no hello. Teeth get yellow, house get yellow, bus get yellow, man get yellow, even green get yellow, and so says 11-4. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. Old school parables say you know what you have, but you don't know what you go get. So cherish what you have to diminish regret. But what on earth lasts forever? Not even things created by the great Jehovah. So the green grass ceased to grow to allow the yellow vibes to flow. But boy, one song I sing, one bell I ring. If we didn't know, we never know yellow would have treat us so. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. They began with the blame game, giving NNP more fame. Past administration, the cause of frustration. Past administration, chief of corruption. Then to economic recession, we can't give you attention. Economic